Welcome to the Stakecito podcast. Today, I'm extremely excited to have Ethan as my guest. Ethan is one of the founders of Kingdomly. And yeah, Kingdomly is a project on Berachain. So before we talk about Kingdomly, Ethan, how are you doing? How's the market treating you these days?
Yeah, Henlo, BM, Nemis, and thanks for having me on, man. The market is treating us quite well. We're really enjoying being a part of this ecosystem, and Ooga Booga.
Ooga booga, man. Yeah, I love this mask, man. It's pretty dope. Every time I see Berachain people talking somewhere on public stages or something, it's usually with a bear mask. So I hope you survive it throughout the podcast, but you probably take it off soon.
Yeah, it's just for the intro, but yeah, thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah, awesome, man. So, tell us, please, who's Ethan? What is like your professional background, and also how did you get into crypto?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I am just a 24-year-old male hailing from the state of Oregon. I live in the US. Probably one of the most doxed founders in crypto. My middle name is in my Twitter handle, Ethan Edward Rife. I love crypto, have been about it since 2017 when I first bought ETH. I bought it because I found out about it through a friend, ended up losing money on it, kind of faded before the big cycle end of 2017 or the big spike end of 2017, but definitely noted the Bitcoin all-time high then and started to pick up on the signs in late 2020, early 2021. Definitely got interested in NFTs, kind of the crypto gaming side of things, which makes sense with what I do now. And have kind of a plethora of interesting events that happened post 2021. But yeah, I'm a founder of Kingdomly. I'm the founder of the main founder of Kingdomly. We've had a couple other founders who are incredibly, incredible contributors. But I'm the only one that is currently there that seeded into the company early and took that position, taking on that risk right now. We are focused on the Berachain ecosystem. We work extremely hard and try and give everybody the best results and the best products regarding NFT creator, marketplace, staking, bridging, and minting.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Really, really interesting. So you are the sole founder, or do you have like other co-founders?
Yeah, so it's really it gets a bit nuanced with founders. I had an official other co-founder who took on the same level of risk, worked for free, and was really pushing us forward. He goes by Zarguchi. That's his Anon name. Have a lot of respect for him still. We were all going through hardship last year, and he needed to walk away in order to officially start making money for himself and for his family. Very honorable decision, but decided to let go of his position as a founder within the company. He's still honorably a founder. If you go into the Discord, I think you'll find him with the founder role. And then we have another co-founder-esque character who's our lead dev now. He didn't take the same level of risk, has always been paid since the beginning, but he certainly has made significant contributions and been a very trustworthy individual. And we would definitely credit a lot of the early development of the product to him. And even the development of the team, he's brought on friends and people that have been great contributors. So he's definitely somebody that I would consider like founder-esque. But if you were to take Elon Musk's like traditional like criteria for a founder, needing like skin in the game and like having taken serious risk, I wouldn't necessarily put him into that category.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thanks for providing some background here. And it's totally understandable, that some people need to earn money. It's like crypto is pretty rough, especially during bear times, right? And like people choosing different path is totally understandable. So
yeah, totally. Nothing but respect for those guys.
Exactly. Yeah, cool. Then let's talk about Kingdomly. So can you tell me, how does Kingdomly differentiate itself from, let's say, other NFT platforms in Ethereum? And also maybe second question, why did you guys decide to build on Berachain?
Yeah, great questions. I'll start with the second one first, and then we'll go more into the broader scope. Berachain was something that that Zerguchi brought to me. We were transitioning from going NFT rental marketplace where you could rent the utility on an NFT to a no-code NFT creator, and we thought that had a lot more market value. Within a few months of starting to build it, Zerguchi reached out to me, said, "Hey, this guy, he runs a podcast in my ecosystem that I'm a part of. I think he's interested in potentially launching on us. Like, do you want to take a call with him?" And I said, "Yes, of course." Like, it was somebody who was interested in using our product was really important to us at the time because we had no users. We had just pivoted from another product that we had built for like on and off for 5 months or so. I actually pretty consistently for 4 to 5 months, but on and off for maybe that whole year of 2022. And we had just finished it up and found no users for it. So when Zerguchi reached out to me and said, "Hey man, like this guy, his name's Tez, he wants to launch his NFT project on us," I was super excited. Didn't know much about the ecosystem, was like, what is Berachain? Like, what's going on here? This was before any POL docs were out that I knew of, but I did hear about like the capital efficiency of the chain, and having an economic background, having studied finance and econ in undergrad, I knew that, okay, like if there's this key amount of capital that's traditionally locked up in validators that can't be unlocked in liquidity pools for AMMs and other DeFi mechanisms on chain, well, that's going to constrain capital in a way that's truly, in my opinion, unnecessary. And so if we can then validate and secure the blockchain via like consensus around who's providing liquidity to these core DeFi primitives, like that excited me. Even with NFTs, it made sense because, being in econ, you understand when there's more capital that's flowing in a chain or in an economy because of capital efficiency, then you can find better price points for things that are traditionally illiquid. So we were seeing like NFTs were traditionally illiquid, and I was saying like to myself, well, if there's all this capital that's no longer being locked up in validators and not being and the core competitive dynamic between AMMs, other DeFi primitives and validators is kind of null and void in this ecosystem, there's going to be a lot of excess capital that gets pulled into that. Like people are going to want to pull liquidity in there where it's most efficient, where they're earning the most yield per asset. And then that will overflow hopefully into finding better price points for JPEGs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I totally agree. I also find that the proof of liquidity consensus basically is a really interesting one because, as you know, we at Stakecito, we run a lot of validators on many different other chains. And the proof of liquidity one is the first time that I see this concept where you basically just utilize it in a different way, and where the relationship between projects and validators and users is like fundamentally different, right? Yeah. And I'm super excited to see how it plays out once the mainnet is here. So, yeah. Will you guys also run your own validator, or do you have your own validator, or what's the idea there?
Yeah, we have no immediate plans for it yet. Like, we do want to support the ecosystem in any way we can, but we find that for us, it's better to try and go like a mile deep and like a few feet wide than go a mile wide and an inch deep. I understand that the validators are going to have a very active participation and role in the economy of Berachain. And I am already pulled in a million different directions trying to handle communications with legal, accounting, tax, consulting,
right.
Our team of developers, our marketing people, our business development, sales. I'm like, dude, I wish we could run a validator, but we would probably have to build a team around that, and I would have to manage it in some capacity. And we think that there's a lot of great validators that are coming to Berachain that we might be able to work with, and we might be able to delegate part of our treasury to, and that we would just be happy to, find a way to support validators in the ecosystem without having to be one ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the exciting things about Berachain is you don't need to run your own validator basically to work with other validators, right? You can like have some sort of incentive model where validators are incentivized to, support your project, and you're incentivized to support the validators and the other way around. And yeah, That's really cool. So then to my first question again, how do you, or how does Kingdomly differentiate itself, like, from, let's say, other NFT platforms? Or
Yeah. The cool thing is, like, we were originally building with a multi-chain thesis in mind. I was sort of young and naive, not having seen a cycle full all the way through from start to finish. And I thought multi-chain was kind of a valid approach. My thesis on that has completely flipped in a lot of ways. I do think that multi-chain is a valid approach at a later stage in a company's development. Like, you can see OpenSea and Blur doing it really well, but you know, it's really good for a protocol to start and be very chain affiliated and sort of grow that ecosystem and really provide a lot of value back into that ecosystem, being very intentional about, again, going a mile deep and a few feet wide instead of a mile wide and a few inches deep. So that's something that's totally changed the approach. But the reason I bring that up is because originally considering going the, like, just kind of multi-chain EVM, every EVM compatible project meant that we architected the solution to be competitive with anything that existed on EVM, not just within the certain community. And I know that that's been actually really beneficial in terms of working deeply in the Berachain ecosystem, because one thing that the foundation clarifies is that they're not interested in another fork coming to their to their chain. They really want new, innovative people, builders, ideas that are interesting, projects that are differentiated. And we, you know, that's something we've thought about since the beginning, because we were under the assumption we'd have to compete with any launchpad on any EVM. And so what we did is we really tried to take all the best from different launchpad-esque type products and pull them all together. I come from a semi-technical background, doing CIT as my minor, you know, learning kind of a lot of the basic languages most people who are getting into coding know. But even for me and for other people who were experienced developers, the new frameworks that you need to know to deploy an NFT, such as Solidity, you know, like to be able to build a front end to connect to it, you know, Web3.js or Ethers.js, you know, to be able to deploy a contract, right? You're probably going to be using Remix. And then you're probably tweaking the contract if you want anything meaningful that's going to raise the bar in terms of NFT quality. And then that's not even to mention how you're going to generate the images using hash lips, and how you're going to, you know, deploy the metadata, you know, how you're going to structure the metadata, how you're going to deploy the metadata, how you're going to hyperlink that into the contract. Like, these are all things that even if you're an experienced dev, you know, are going to take time and energy, and they're very specialized skill sets. It's not like you're taking, like, learning how to deploy metadata and structure metadata and you're applying it anywhere else in the field. It just not as much so. And so because it's such a specialty skill, I found that it was incredibly expensive to launch something new and innovative and interesting in the NFT space, which is why we saw a lot of stagnation in it. You know, you saw Pump Fund making it easy for anybody to deploy tokens, but you don't really see a lot of people making it easy to deploy NFTs. The best NFT creators, like, people are like, oh, doesn't OpenSea have one of those? Or doesn't, you know, Zora, or what about Scatter? Most of those are single page forms. So it's like, look, here are the inputs that you can add, and this is going to give you contract customization, but there's no clarity around strong art generation in the number one paradigm that makes the most sense for NFTs right now, which is, I would say, it's traditionally been PFP NFTs, gaming NFTs too, and we'll get into that later. But PFP NFTs have always been around and will likely always be around. And generative artwork has been around since CryptoKitties and has evolved through Larva Labs and CryptoPunks and Basie and Azuki and all the names that you know and love. And obviously the Bong Bears and the Rebases. So this is a paradigm that people understand that are very deeply crypto native. And we are the only, so to get to the true point of the question, we're the only NFT launchpad with full end-to-end no-code deployment. And so that means you can drag and drop your trait files, your PNGs in there. We give you robust art generation in our newest form of creator, which internally we call it Creator V3. The domain is v2.kingdomly.app if you want to check it out. I will also share all the links for everything so you can kind of post them below. But yeah, this has the best of the art gen from Bueno, which is what, in my opinion, the best art generator in the space for generative artwork. It has the best of contract customization, similar to what you might see on Scatter, but even with a few additional features like, you know, delegate mint. I don't know how they handle it at Scatter. It's been a while, but we have unlimited, like, private mint creation with custom parameters. We have no code ways to upload your whitelist to configure a whitelist based on holdings of another collection. We have an admin panel where you can customize the mint page. It really truly is like a Shopify-like experience built for NFT creators, totally end to end. And there's nothing on the market like it. And we're just continuing to like kind of add new features to it every single week behind the scenes. And we're pushing updates, every few months.
Yeah, really, really cool. And I think it's the right approach, right? You sort of take what the market already provides and just take the best out of it and like try to improve and create your own platform basically. And one of the interesting things that I have seen is that there are a lot of Berachain projects that launch sort of their own collections.
Yeah.
And what is it exactly that Kingdomly basically offers to Berachain projects and their users? Like, why do people do that? Like,
yeah. It's a great question. I mean, it's funny. I wish I could say like we sparked that idea. We really didn't. We were the gasoline on the fire, right? So Berachain started it. Berachain said, we're going to do these bong bears, these rebases, and then we're going to build a chain from that, right? So the idea is that, these NFTs give you early exposure into a community, and that community is going to build something, or somebody from that community is going to build something, aka a protocol. And, this community will hopefully see value from that protocol's development in the form of maybe an expected airdrop, and no guarantees on that. We don't make any promises about any collections on us launching an airdrop. Right. None of this is financial advice. This is just how it tends to work. Is that people buy into an NFT because they're interested in the community, the protocol behind it, and they see that as a way to get early exposure prior to an ERC20 launch. ERC20 launches, they're very risky for a protocol early. There's a lot of volatility. Price points are more liquid, and that really can, cast some negative light on a protocol when they launch it too early. And so in the meantime, to build a strong community, it makes sense to have a great PFP collection that your people can rock, that, people can get around, people can, have interest in for whatever reason they have interest in it for. And we found that I think Berachain was one of the first guys to do this really well and follow suit of what the foundation did, or what the Bong Bear and Rebase collections did. There was a bunch of other great collections. We've seen the founder sales from Baritone. We've seen obviously Honeycomb and the Honey Jar collections from the Honey Jar. We've seen plenty of these iterations. I think Tez and the Honeycast was one of the early ones as well. And so when they launched on us last year, it really showed us the paradigm that Berachain understood the culture of NFTs internally. And just because we've been able to make it so much easier for these DApp protocol founders, they've actually been able to launch what I would consider very competitive NFT projects in the grand scheme of things with a very small amount of their time and energy. So they're still able to go create the best, borrowing and lending protocol around, IBGT on Berachain, Berabar, for example, and still have the resources to go and launch Big Fat Beras, this beautiful PFP, collection of a large size that otherwise, would have just been an entire project and would have had a much larger budget and would have required a full team of developers, artists, business guys, marketing to pull it off. They were able to pull it off in so much more of a lean circumstance or in a lean methodology, because we were able to come in and give them the tooling and then also provide some marketing assistance. And, we take no credit for that. We really, like I said before, we're not the ones who created this paradigm. I'd say Berachain did in, them launching the Bong Bears and the Rebases. We can't claim that we even proliferated it early. Like I said, before we were even really around the ecosystem, the other eco projects were doing this. We just simply have added gasoline to the fire, enabling more people to create what I would consider really competitive collections with very minimal resources.
Yeah, super interesting. Let's maybe talk a little bit about the tooling. So does it mean that the creators basically don't even need their own artists? So I believe there's something called the Kingdomly Creator, right? Is it like an art generator, or what is it exactly, and how does it work?
Yeah. So we opted out of going the AI route, which was certainly something we thought about, just because we've recognized that not many crypto natives really enjoy AI JPEGs. We like the generative stuff. We like hand-drawn traits. We like kind of some soul tied into the ones and zeros. And I personally preferred it as well. So we do have an art generator, but it's not an AI art generator. We have what's known as hashlips sort of on the back end of things. And then we've obviously customized and tweaked it. But what hashlips basically does is it takes all these PNG files, these trait files, and it, for those who are listening and not familiar, you could maybe look up CryptoPunks or BaseC, and what you would see is a bunch of and by BaseC I mean Bored Ape Yacht Club, and you'd see a bunch of different apes or pixel characters, and they all look kind of similar, but none are the same. And that's because what they've done is they've algorithmically generated those images by taking individual traits like the hair on a CryptoPunk, maybe the mohawk or the certain facial structure or color or skin of a Bored Ape. And what they've done is they've taken different variations of these trait categories, like you could say face, hair, accessory, body, and they've compiled them on top of each other. And so they've used an algorithm traditionally to do that. It's traditionally taken you've had to code all of this stuff, but now we just allow you to drag and drop those trait files and generate the max amount of possible combinations that you can with them.
Got it. Yeah, really interesting. And as you just said, it makes it so much easier to launch a collection then. Plus, if you have the platform that provides all the other things such as whitelisting and many of the other tools. I've also seen another thing which is called guilds. Could you explain us what guilds means and what is it there for, and how do you join guilds?
I like to say, as a founder, you need three. You probably will need three shots on base, or you need 3 rounds essentially to try and hit a home run. You need to swing at least 3 times. And hopefully you get some balls in there too. Really, I'd say guilds was one of those swing and misses. We didn't execute it quite well. We didn't have the resources to execute it really well. We realized it was a product segment that was highly competitive, which was let's bring, and it was something that was, I'd say, market narrative at the time. It was hey, look, let's create communities around NFTs. Let's take Twitter out of the picture. Let's take Discord out of the picture. Let's just, token gated communities should have their own application instead of be, collab.land gated Discord server, or, a Twitter chat where people verify, what you own and you're allowed to be in that. And so we kind of leaned into that a little bit. What we were trying to do there was build some governance around NFTs to build base utility. The idea was we still had a very strong thesis around NFTs with utility. And we thought that one of those base utilities was having access to a community and having a vote within that for what to do with resources, anything like that. And so because we had that thesis, we were let's create some base utility for collections. So anybody could create a social collection and automatically have a Reddit forum built directly for that. Now that product is kind of sunsetted now. We might bring it back in terms of a chat feature within the wallet experience of Kingdomly as a greater whole, but we've definitely gotten more down to the roots of what people actually want and what there's no great solution for. And we're certainly prioritizing those features and products now.
Yeah, I got it. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense also to just experiment in the beginning, see what people like, and then depending on what people use, you continue or not continue. But more or less, the idea of guilds was almost like having a DAO for NFT collections, something in this direction, or
yeah. There was voting, there was forum, and it was you could only get in based on holding.
Okay, got it. Yeah, interesting. Very, very cool. Let's maybe talk about a slightly more spicy question or spicy topic. I think you just posted today or something like that. That last week there was a bots attack on the public mint, right? On
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about how actually do bots go about it? How do they attack those mints, and also what can be done to prevent those attacks in the future?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. Very relevant. Yeah, I mean, a lot of other products I think would really appreciate the fact that there's botting on their platform. For us, we want the desired outcome to be what the creator expects. And if the creator's opening it to public, I think they're going for mass distribution, not one person farming the entire public allocation. So that like kind of gets to the problem. Like a lot of people don't see it as a problem, so no one's really tried to tackle it. But because we really care about having that authentic experience and getting the expected outcome for the creators, we do have to tackle it. And so I'll kind of preface it with that. And I will also preface it with that. I don't know if bots is the perfect term for it. It's what I've used because it's what people are familiar with. But really, it's just a contract level attack, not our contract, but other contracts on the blockchain. And there's after talking to a very trusted friend of mine who works in one of the top auditing firms in the world, and after just researching it myself and just looking deeply into it, we found that there's no way to really stop people from spinning up a bunch of contracts which have unique addresses and hitting our public mint function all at once. There are solutions such as like limiting how many people can mint in one block, but then that has negative impacts on the rest of minters who are actually trying to mint and want to get in there at the right time and don't want to be like slapped back. And even then, bots can sort of front run and be the first one to mint in a block better than users can. So that's not a perfect solution. There was a few other solutions, like economic solutions, like let's open all the mints at the same time so they have less demand. They have less time to assess demand and determine whether or not botting this one will be worth their time and energy or their money. So, there's a couple different solutions there. The only way you can really stop or determine whether somebody's a real human being behind an account on the blockchain or not is to KYC or add some form of humanity verification into it. And there's no way to do that. It would be really complicated to do that on the blockchain. One, there's no way to do that directly, but indirectly you could do it by setting up another contract which verifies certain addresses based on some KYC measures and an oracle for that, which reads into the contract, but then that has centralization issues. There's a lot of things to do that. And a better way to do that, in my opinion, is to give flexibility around that for directly on the NFT contract around whitelisting. People even mentioned, hey, look, maybe you should blacklist these contract addresses that are calling these public mint functions or blacklist malicious actors. There was even a possible solution of creating more centralized control around the NFT collection. And if there was bot behavior witnessed by collection creators, they could burn those tokens even if they're in somebody else's wallet. But that has deep centralization risks as well, right? Your collection creator then becomes the czar of, or the dictator of the collection, and you don't really want that either. So we finally came to a solution, and we're really proud of it. And that's what we're coining mint access forms. And I could definitely go into that if you want to hear more about it. But that's sort of my broad answer on the spectrum of solutions that we explored and kind of the final one that we came to.
Yeah, really, really interesting. And as you said, I also heard from other NFT platforms that some people say having bots or sort of those users or having collections minted out really quick by a few users, sometimes a luxury problem. I don't know, I don't even know, to what extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in one comment I called it a champagne problem to have, and I agree. It's a champagne problem. It's really good problem to have, but it's a problem nonetheless.
Right, but when it comes to those free mint collections, the only fee that the, let's say, bot has is the gas fees, right? And does the attacker, let's say, can bundle those transactions into one transaction, or does he has are there higher fees because he has to execute the same transaction many times?
That's a great.
What is the cost basically for an attacker?
Yeah, I love that. That's a great question. Yeah, so essentially free mints on Kingdomly aren't truly free, right? Their free is set by the creator, but we still have a flat $3 plus 3% fee on every NFT minted on our platform. So there is still economic cost and risk to max minting these things regardless. So I want to make that clear. But then the other aspect is gas fees, like you said. And so what we found in that transaction that I shared in the tweet, and we can also link that tweet down below, is that, yeah, it was one transaction calling from a bunch of different contracts in one transaction hash or ID. So you can go look at it. It's like one, but it has a bunch of different calls within it. So you can think of it as a bundled transaction. I believe that was pretty gas efficient for them to pull off. They did, however, have to distribute funds to all of these different contracts and get all those contracts to point to this, and call this function on our NFT contract or an NFT contract deployed by Kingdomly. So yeah, there is a barrier to entry and a risk for this type of behavior. I believe that botter probably turned out pretty well, considering these free mints have very low risk and very high upside in the current market. So, you might also see people stop doing as much of the free mints because they're worried about that, or less public allocation. I would hope people still do the free mints. I think those are great because the goal of them is to give proper, wider distribution to holders and community members. The problem is when that's abused is on a public mint. So if we can just have more, I believe the solution I gave on that Twitter was just have more robust whitelists from some of these community projects that have done a great job at figuring out who's a real person and who's actually active and trying to allocate to their communities is a way that we can really build with a healthy partnership within the ecosystem. And that's something we're really, really excited about.
Yeah, 100%. And I also believe that's one of the more direct ways to actually, get rid of those problems, let's say. And also you allocate it to users that sort of have also some skin in the game. You could think of them potentially staying on Berachain for the long term and not just minting out the collection and then dumping it whenever they can.
Yeah.
Or as soon as they can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, then let's maybe move on to a few other questions and topics. One question that I had is, will there be actually a native token on Kingdomly? Are there any plans in that regard, if you can talk about it?
Yeah, no immediate plans. We're fully bootstrapped. I put lots of my own personal capital into this project. And we're happy to be fully bootstrapped and free right now, cash flow positive. So that's been a major blessing and benefit to us. Right now, we really want to avoid any of the negative externalities of having a token on the market. And we've been advised to keep one off for now, just because it allows us to keep our full focus on creating a great product for the ecosystem, creating a great experience. Now, there's certainly drawbacks and downsides to not having a token on the market. It makes it a lot easier for economic, alignment with other large participants to have a token on the market. And so we're looking to build additional ways to have economic alignment with partners outside of our own token. And we're certainly open to anybody DMing us about how we could do that. But right now, just due to the kind of the costs and difficulties and downsides and risks of doing a token, we're not. And that doesn't mean, I know this is going to be public, so that doesn't mean I don't advocate for other projects to do it. I certainly think it's a great way, even outside of just raising capital. There's so many benefits to it because of economic alignment, and the best founders have really done that super well. And I have a lot of respect for them. One I'll shout out, and I hope he doesn't mind me shouting him out, but is Nomad from Beras. I think he does a great job at how he thinks about having any type of token or equity in the market and distributing it with economic alignment purposes instead of just purely monetary purposes. So there's a lot of great people who will tell you to go launch a token, and I would say it's just up to the individual to determine whether that's the best path.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, the platform will still work without having a token, actually, right? So apart from fundraising and so on, maybe another use case could be let's say governance on the platform if you want to decentralize it over time. But even that is not super necessary right from the beginning, right? So token TBD, let's say.
Yeah, that's safe. That's safe to say. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So yeah, my next question would be, yeah, it's I've seen that you guys are live right now. You're live on Ethereum and Arbitrum, right? So this is
Yeah.
mainnet. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
mainnet, and Berachain obviously upcoming. And also, I think you guys are actually trending on Arbitrum, right? Did I see it correctly, or some of the
Yeah.
collections?
Yeah. We've been trending on Arbitrum for a lot of our collections this year.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to do really well there. And people are making a lot of jokes about like Arbitrum being the Bera L2, and then about how we should ask them for grants. And these are certainly things we're thinking about. Is like, how can we build great relationships with chains that we're working with, that are beneficial to them and beneficial to Berachain. We do consider ourselves Bera native. Every collection that's ever launched on us that's had meaningful impact has been Bera native, and we certainly understand that and we're aligned with that. The reason we have Arbitrum and Ethereum right now is because, well, we had those before we even knew about Berachain, but two, that's also where the bears tend to want to launch something that can be economic. And then the purpose of that would also to bring those assets over to Berachain where they can be the most liquid. And so it's really actually ended up creating this wonderful like flywheel pre-mainnet that's building so much hype for Berachain, because all these JPEGs that may be a little bit more accessible, filling the gaps between like, you have no money and you have enough to buy a BitBear, and I'm not saying that they're more accessible because they're lower quality or anything like that. I'm just saying they just more accessible in terms of price point. It's allowing all of these assets to reach the market that desires Berachain exposure, but maybe can't afford a BitBear, and it's giving them the opportunity to buy into the vision, buy into the chain, because all of these assets are planning on going to Berachain, right? We're working with Layer 0 on their brand new ONFT v2 standard to implement proxy contract, which extends the interface and gives additional functionality to non-multi-chain NFTs to get them to the chain of liquidity. So like that's something we're really excited about. And that's kind of our main thesis for having those two chains right now is, look, this is where, Berachain collections have traditionally launched that want to have some economic speculation pre-mainnet. And the sole purpose of those is to get them live there, allow people to access them, and give them a reason to get excited about bridging the Berachain.
Interesting. Yeah, and as you said, I mean, it enabled some people already to technically earn some money, right? And maybe at some point, like, acquire some of those Berachain collections, which are like more of the OG or Genesis collections, let's say. But yeah, interesting. And then also what it enables, I believe, is that Arbitrum users, will then also start to use Berachain as soon as it goes live, because I guess they are like those, what do you say, bi-directional relationships or something like that coming out of that. So
yeah, it's great for both. In my opinion, it's great for both. It's like reinvigorating the Arbitrum ecosystem, pre like ultra bull, if that's what you're thinking this next year will be. And then it's also just kind of sparking a lot of attention and a great partnership between the two ecosystems, in my opinion.
Yeah, really cool. How does the roadmap look like for Kingdomly? What are some of the, let's say, upcoming product features, let's say, for the last quarter of this year?
Yeah, another great question, man. Yeah, I love it. So right now, what we have live, I believe we have Guilds live still. That's, like I said, going to get sunsetted. We have Creator live. We have Mint live. And we're pushing Creator v3, which has, far more robust art generation and a far better deployment framework for contracts, far better admin UI for being able to mess around with it. Would really encourage everybody to go look through that. We're super excited to be able to highlight all the new features in a new, in more marketing that's going to be focused on product education, as opposed to our traditional marketing strategy has been, let's just highlight our partners. Let's be like Red Bull, right? You don't go to Instagram and see, Red Bull on Instagram and see like a bunch of like, soda in a can. No, you see like the people who are extreme that are using it. So that's been our thesis with marketing as well. Like we're really, we're just the product that helps empower these great like builders. That's, so we want to be builder first, the same way Red Bull's like extreme athlete first.
Right.
And so you're going to see more, but you're going to see more product education videos. That's something we're really excited about. But yeah, as for exact products, we have a lineup of about 4 main products. And, we have some that are coming out that we're excited about next year. But the 4 main products is Creator V3, which is, already live at v2.kingdomly.app. And we're going to push that soon so that like when you go to creator.kingdomly.app, that's the flow you're going to go into. We have a new version of Mint page, but I'm kind of bundling that in with Creator V2/V3. And we have Marketplace. So we have Creator, Mint, Marketplace, Bridge. We're excited for Bridge. I touched on that a bit earlier, but this will allow anybody who's deployed a non-cross-chain interoperable collection to extend it. This works right now with 721A and 721. It doesn't work with 1155 yet. We may add that later, but it doesn't seem like it's a priority right now. We have Marketplace. So we'll have a very OpenSea-esque type marketplace that's very user-friendly, creator-first kind of marketplace. We will have support for the 721C standard on that marketplace, pardon me. But we don't have 721C, which is the creator royalty enforcement standard by limit break, built into our creator yet. That will hopefully be sometime late this year or next year. The last thing that we have that I'm really excited about and could probably talk about for a long time is NFT staking. So those are kind of the 4 main products in recap: Creator, new version of Creator/Mint, Marketplace, Bridge, and staking.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's already a lot to ship, right? So
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. So the marketplace basically means instead of listing the tokens on OpenSea, as it's right now the case, I believe, right? You can just directly trade it on Kingdomly in the future.
Yeah, we're gonna make it really easy. We have so when you mint right now, you get a royal proclamation come up saying, "Hey, you successfully minted." Soon, that's gonna have it'll show you the NFTs you minted. Kind of like if you play League of Legends or any of these games, like where you open a loot box, you can see what you got in the loot box. And you can go view it in your inventory, or you can dissolve it into dust or whatever it is nowadays. But yeah, that's like how it will be with NFTs. You mint, and at some point there will be this beautiful animation, and you'll be able to go view an inventory, list on a marketplace, or stake. 3 different buttons right there on the mint page. And then another thing we want to add to the mint page is a direct link to the marketplace page of that collection, and eventually sort of try and merge these 2 into one. So it goes very smoothly from, look, I'm minting to I'm trading on secondary if that's what I want, or I'm staking. So those are kind of the options that usually people will assess post minting is, do I hold this or do I flip it? And now we're, with the advent of staking, we're allowing people to accrue points, which can be translated into rewards via some future token allocation or incentive by the creator. And so now there's like immediate reason to for people to gain from one or the other, right? So it's my goal that if you mint on Kingdomly, you're either immediately going to be staking it or you're going to be immediately flipping it on our marketplace. And it's going to create value for the flippers, which I think drive volume for the collection, which is good. It's going to drive value for the holders who are going to, hopefully earn a lot of points in staking the collection, and then at some point be rewarded for that via token distribution based on that point allocation. And so it's really hopefully going to be the best playground for NFTs that we've ever seen before.
Yeah, interesting. Sounds really exciting, and looking forward to all of that. Yeah, man. I mean, I think this has been a great interview. I'm actually through all my questions right now. So, can you let us know what are the socials of Kingdomly, and how can people also find you?
Yeah, Kingdomly app on Twitter. We have our Discord in the bio there in our link tree. If you want to connect with Kingdomly, you can feel free to reach out to me. I may or may not have time to get to it in a timely manner, but Ethan Edward Rife for me. And we have Kingdomly Intern, another account that's going to be coming out soon that will have more of that product content. Will get reposted by the official for great quality content there as well.
Nice. Really cool. Yeah, thanks, man. Really appreciate you coming on and taking the time. And yeah, let's maybe repeat it once Berachain goes live and you guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let's run it back, man. It was such a pleasure to be on here with you, and I really appreciate you for having me.
For sure, man. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good day, man. Cheers.
Cheers.